Welcome back to our weekly summary of Climate Transformed. We are going to talk about what just happened and also look to the week ahead. Paul, what was your favorite event?
I don't know why I smile every time you do the introductions, because we've done more takes on this than you can imagine, not this time around, but in general. So what went on this week? I had a very interesting conversation with Manish Dabkara, who is the CEO of NKing, or EKI Energy in India, which is India's largest carbon credit / VCM organization, and they cover the entire value chain in regards to voluntary offset markets in India. We had they've been doing this since 2014. They went public last year, and I think they are the only public consulting firm in regards to carbon offsets. They are the pollination of India. They're the carbon direct of India. Very, very cool organization. And Manish was talking a lot about sort of the evolution, or the coming evolution / revolution in carbon offsets in India. We talked a lot about the ban of compliance credit sales to international corporates. We talked about issues such as the banning of the use of the issuance of credits around renewables, which has been a huge thing in the Indian market for the last 10 years. A very interesting organisation. Indian credits are not recognised in many places. You can't use them in the EU ETS or Australia or other sort of more developed compliance carbon markets. India is working on its own compliance market for 2023, and the legislation to sort of ratify all that literally should go through in a matter of months. So very interesting market. Certainly a tremendous growth market in terms of supply, but as you can imagine, India has a slew of heavy emitting companies. Air India being an obvious example of that, who need access to those credits as well. So really interesting conversation there. And today, later on today, I'm going to have a conversation with Phil Hodgson from Calix, who is a company which actually is headquartered about 45 minutes drive from where I grew up.
Really? So
Melbourne,
close.
Victoria, in this place called Bacchus Marsh, which is a carbon sequestration company that is working with cement firms around the world. Long story short, they have a very cool technology that heats limestone in a very CO2 friendly way. Think of it, McKenna, as ever seen a wheat silo, like those big wheat silos, those big cylinders. Think of that heated to 1,000 degrees centigrade, and that's what Calix does. So it's a very, very cool technology. It is, I think, we're going to get into the issue of cost curves, which obviously is at the end of the day, the practical key to all sequestration projects is how much does it take to capture a ton of carbon. But look, very, very interesting tech. If we can, we're going to be doing interviews hopefully with Brimstone and these other green cement companies later on in the year, and what will be a sort of an ongoing theme about taking these really heavy polluting industries and ways we can change them. I think a lot of people have given up on this, or not given up per se, but I think conventional media sort of coming to thinking that these industries can't change. And there's some really smart people who are trying to do exactly that.
Absolutely. And the first introduction to how intense the cement industry is when they're like, if cement was a country, it'd be the third largest emitter on the planet. And that just really put things into perspective for me. And I'm so glad companies like Calix do have a retrofitting option for this industry, because it's huge. And did they got $50 million in funding from the Australian government? It's really nice to see that support on the political level too.
Yeah, and Australia, given how shitty Australia's done on this, the previous Morrison government and the previous Conservative government took some backward steps in regards to Australia's climate agenda, which the new Labor government is moving forward with, which is great to see. But that said, this grant did come from this grant did come from the Conservative government, so that's obviously a good thing. But no, I think it's there's these, whether it's public-private partnerships, whether it's government grants, whether it's just the collaboration between the private sector and the public sector in order to fund this. I mean, we're not going to fund $50 trillion out of nowhere, right? You need government involvement. The fact that there are elements that think that this has to be a private sector dominated campaign to decarbonize this, I think misses the boat, because I'll give you a good example. So, there's all this talk around, defunding oil and gas. And, you just can't defund oil and gas if we're going to have, if we're not going to have peak oil consumption till somewhere around 2040. We still need to have greenfield oil projects and the like go on. You hear a lot from private equity that they can pick up where banks, if they defund, go away. Just can't happen. Private equity doesn't have several $100 billion to invest in oil and gas projects. Just doesn't, right? So you need to have every part of the sustainable finance ecosystem, government, commercial banks, VC, private equity, angel investors, pensions, infrastructure funds, all working together to fund the trillions of dollars that needs to be funded, right? So just as the Inflation Reduction Act, there was a great report that Credit Suisse put out, which we've got on the Telegram Bandit chat, talking how the US is going to have to spend around $1.7 trillion in the next 10 years, or should I say, the Inflation Reduction Act will release $1.7 trillion of funding to deal with all the decarbonisation issues that the United States is facing. It's a rounding error, right? It's just a rounding error. So put this, if you GDP weight that was the equivalent of 6.8 or close to $7 trillion of funding globally in 10 years, right? Yeah. It's nothing. Texas grid, to modernize the Texas grid, is going to be $800 billion. So that's roughly half of what that spending is going to be. So, the $1.7 trillion is a drop in the ocean in the greater scheme of things, which means to fund all these things long term is going to be a gargantuan task. Everyone, thank you so much. That's it. That's our week. Next week, McKenna, what do we have on? We've got a couple of things next week.
Yeah. So Thallo, who was part of our VCM series, they are coming back on and doing a special white paper release. So their research is finally coming out. It's Nathalie and Haley who spoke, and they'll be telling us what to expect. And it's all about pre-financing of VCM projects, which is a massive bottleneck right now. Oh yeah, and they definitely have the resources to kind of tell us what is actually going on in the space. So I'm really excited to learn more. And then after that, we have Carboculture, and they're building one of the Europe's largest CO2 removal facilities. Henrietta Moon, she's the CEO. She'll be talking about their natural, the carbon removal they are doing, and all the technological advances they've made really recently. They had a huge raise, and they were part of Stanford's founder community, and they've worked with the NASA Research Center. So I'll be really intrigued to see what they bring to our interview.
That's legit. Everyone, have a fabulous week, and we'll talk to you all very, very soon.